Hello and welcome to Daily Politics on Trust TV. On this program, we discuss issues around politics, policy and governance. I am Shafi'u Suleiman. Some anonymous groups in Nigeria across regional divides, across political party affiliations, are planning a nationwide protest against the prevailing economic hardship which has exacerbated hunger and insecurity in the country. The nationwide planned citizens' action scheduled to hold from October 1st, which is also gaining traction especially on social media platforms and a section of mainstream media, has generated divergent views among religious leaders, civil rights advocates, the political class and other prominent Nigerians. Though the federal government is yet to officially respond to the planned protests, a published report alleged that security agencies are proactively working to thwart any possible breakdown of law and order that could arise from the impending citizens' action. It is against this backdrop we'll be engaging with the former Executive Secretary of the National Health Insurance Scheme, NHIS, Professor of Hematology Oncology and Bone Marrow Transplantation, a member of the Northern Elders Forum, and a critical voice on insecurity and bad governance in Nigeria, Professor Usman Yusuf, on the imperatives or otherwise of the impending protests. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Shafi'u, for having me.
But before we commence the conversation, here are some tidbits. The headline inflation rate increased to 34.19% in the month of June, according to a report by the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS. The report said food inflation also increased to 40.87% on a year-on basis, which has 16.62% points higher compared to the rate recorded in June 2023, that is 25.25%. It stated that the rise in food inflation was caused by increases in prices of millet, whole grain, gari, guinea corn, etc., bread and cereals class, yam, water yam, cocoa yam, potatoes, yam and other tuber, that is the tuber class, groundnut oil, fats, among several others. Now, kidnappers have reportedly abducted 5 residents of Ngoji in the Kwali Area Council of the Federal Capital Territory, shooting a chieftain of the All Progressives Congress APC, Alhaji Musa Majaga. A resident of the Ngoji, simply identified as Abdullahi, said the incident happened on Monday around 12:23 a.m. when the kidnappers invaded the APC chieftain's house. He said the kidnappers destroyed the burglary windows of the Majaga's house, entered the room and shot him. They were said to have abducted 2 of his children. We'll now take a short break, and when we return, our conversation commences. Stay with us. Thank you very much for staying with us, and welcome back to the program. Prof, welcome once again.
Thank you for having me, Shafi'u.
Now, the starting point would be tidbits. Let's use that to set the stage for our conversation. The first one is talking about headline inflation, which has increased, from the previous statistics issued by the NBS, and now at, I'm trying to get it now.
33.9.
Right. So, what do you make up with this? In spite of measures being taken by the Central Bank of Nigeria, for instance, they've increased the interest rate, and the interest rate and so on, with a view to tighten the inflation regime, or rather cap the inflation regime, and yet this is where we are.
Yeah, that just tells you we are not where we need to be. The purpose of the economic policy of any government are essentially 3. I'm not an economist, but economists will tell you: 1, to tame inflation; 2, to tame unemployment; and 3, to grow the economy. And on these 3 counts, this government has failed woefully too. 33-point-something% inflation rate, and food inflation is
40.87%.
40.9%, and they're increasing the interest rate. Dangote is screaming that businesses
are crumbling.
Businesses cannot thrive with this much interest rate, and businesses are closing and leaving town. Workers have been laid off. So I don't know what this economic team is doing. This counts of taming inflation, taming unemployment, growing the economy. On all the three counts, this government has failed. I don't know what his economic team is doing. What is it going to tell? What is it going to tell people? People are screaming across the land. Businesses are screaming across the land. I don't know. Do they have earbuds that they don't listen? I wonder.
Yeah, but they will tell you that at least they are seeing the result, because we're not where we're supposed to be. Looking at there's some level of the inflation would have been worse than where we are, perhaps, without such measures taken. They also see it as a long-term measure. It's not something that you will see the result immediately, a trickle and all of that.
Right, you're not saying it with a straight face. You have a smile on your face. If you believe that, Shafi'u, if you believe that, you can believe anything. For goodness sake, it's what we see, what we relate to, what the ordinary Nigerian relates to when he goes to the market. Every day things are going up, and you're telling me your economic team is doing anything? You can talk all the big grammar you want in Abuja or Lagos. People are suffering as a result of your economic policies, not working, hurting people, and all is not well. They need to be told that if they are not aware, or if they are in denial. But things are not right. Inflation is killing our people. 30,000 minimum wage. Oh, they can't even pay 60,000. Well, if they pay 60,000, it cannot even buy me
62,000.
Yeah, we cannot even buy a bag of rice. And a person who has a family with 4 children, come on, people. So the economic policy of this government is not working. It's hurting our people. It's killing our people. There is hunger in the land. I've said it, and I continue to say it every day. Every day of our lives, every one of us, we keep getting phone calls from home. People are just not asking for much, but just food in this land of plenty.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that much later. But then let's take a look at the second tidbits. Kidnappers have reportedly abducted an APC chieftain, and he was shot, and then they've taken some of his children and so on. Here in Abuja, Kwali Area Council. What does this say, to the level of insecurity in the country?
Right, it just says we're in trouble. No amount of propaganda can assuage the fears and concerns of citizens. The primary responsibility of government is to protect its people and its welfare. We're not seeing that. People are hungrier now, people are angrier now, and people are less safe than they were. So what is the government doing? These kidnappers used to do things in the bushes, in the rural areas, and they come to the highways. Now they are coming into town. You go to many of this, in Katsina, in Gusau, they go deep into the city and abduct people. So things are not right.
Is it to say that things are deteriorating?
They are not right.
With all the interventions and
what interventions? Do you think the military is the job of the military to prevent kidnappings in the middle of Gusau, in the middle of Sokoto, in the middle of Katsina? We're not getting it right. Let's be honest with ourselves. We want to delude ourselves and continue the propaganda that all is well, our people are continuing to suffer. The story in Zamfara, this is no news. Yeah. 2 local governments, a local government in Kauranamoda and Zurumi, the bandits have levied the villages, several villages, up to 10 villages, for them to pay
about 200 million was said
over
to have
100 million.
Yeah, taken
and they pay. Where is the government? Where is security? So Abuja propaganda is different from the realities of daily realities of our people. And this is what you see.
Coincidentally, we have a Minister of Defense, State Defense, come from Zamfara, and yet people of Zamfara are made to churn out this huge amount of money, 200 million naira, to access their farms. But where would you place the blame? Now, if we said, okay, there are challenges, and the president said, okay, I'm giving you Minister of Defense, Minister of State Defense, the NSA, and all of that. The area of security chiefs are actually from the north.
Yeah, but who is the CNC? It's his government. It's not Matawale's government or Badaru's government or Ribado's government. It's his government. I need to see things done differently. If they're not done, the people you put there, they are there You can hire and fire anybody. So things are not working. If they're not telling the president the right thing, what you see in Kwali local government is the daily realities of our people in villages, in Zamfara, in Katsina, in Sokoto, in Niger, in Kaduna. This is our reality. So all this propaganda, oh, we eliminated 200 terrorists, we are this, but this is the daily realities of our people. There has to be a
You call it propaganda. Is it not backed by evidence? When the security agencies take out some of these criminal elements,
right.
they do also brandish the number and all of that.
Right. So anyway, we are not talking. We are not.
Insecurity.
We are not refuting this propaganda. Honestly, I mean, the realities on the ground for our people is different. We get calls every day, all over the north and the north central. Oh, somebody has been taken. Oh, this from central, from central, Gusau from Andume from. And we are here saying all is well, all is not well. It is not the military that will prevent kidnapping and abduction in the city. Where's everybody else?
Who will, for instance, since the civil authorities...
Where's everybody else? Where is
lacking the capacity?
Where is the police? Where is all the other agencies? So things need to be back on the table, do the right thing. Assess what we are, where we are today. Where we've been from. Forget the propaganda and say, where do we need to go and how do we need to get there? Let us work together, everybody.
Well, what do you think should have been done differently? Because these are, measures that are being taken on daily basis, and then government re-strategize at some point. They're talking about non-kinetic measures and all of that.
You look at Shafi'u. I mean, we're not talking security, and to be honest, I'm tired of talking about security because they don't listen. So you tell me, what has changed? What has changed from Buhari's government to this government? What are they doing differently that will make things work differently? Nothing. Oh yeah, they abduct this 200. Oh, we get them out. They bring them to Abuja. We take pictures.
Well, isn't that shows proactiveness, and also
Shafi'u.
Okay,
Shafi'u.
Let's go to the other one.
Shafi'u.
We will talk about that much later. But then, let's coincidentally, the two tidbits laid sufficient background to what we'll be talking about, planned protests. These are perhaps the issues that would trigger youth to begin to think about staging protests nationwide. We talked about inflation earlier, which is connected to the hardship, the hunger and all of that, and then talking about security, has gone deep into the city center, the capital city, Abuja and all of that. So, but is protest the way to go?
Right. In any democracy, this is the right, the constitutionally protected right of citizens of assembly and protest. This government, more than any other government, has not been listening. Daily Trust, how many times have you written editorials? How many times have all the papers written editorials? How many times have I been here and many other TV stations talking about hunger in the land? The government is not listening. People are dying of hunger, and you want the youth to sit down and keep looking. They see their mothers at home, no food. They see insecurity in their land. All across the country, there is hunger in the land. What they bought 10 naira yesterday is now 25 naira. And guess what? Our leaders are here in Abuja, living it up.
But they also not feeling the impact of all of this, because they also, even if they don't go to market, perhaps the numbers would tell them in terms of the amount they spend that yes, all is not well. Perhaps if they are budgeting 20 million, for instance, and now it is 60 million or 80 million, they must have also understand that something is wrong somewhere.
Right. So subsidy has been removed, correct? But the lives of that's what they say, correct. But the lives of all, from the president and his family, the vice president and his family, or the president of the Senate, the speaker, the members of the House, the Senate, their governors, they are living on subsidy. They don't pay for their food. They don't pay for their food. They don't pay for their electricity. They don't pay for their clothing. They get clothing allowance. In the United States, the president pays for his food. He gets billed. But All are the president, the governor, the senators, everybody, their life is subsidized. So they don't know what you and I are feeling. So forget about saying they feel
saying they're totally disconnected. Perhaps they are not, I mean, they must have gone back to the villages, and we see them going back to their residences during holidays and so on.
Yeah.
Isn't that enough to tell, I mean?
Shafi'u, if you are deaf, dumb, and blind, you won't see the reality. This is the honest truth. The reality has been facing them everywhere. People are suffering. They don't want to hear. They are sumum bukuyum umuyum, deaf, dumb, and blind to the sufferings of our people. So people have been, so this is the time. The youths are saying, we are fed up. And if that's the only language you understand, we are going to speak that language to you. Because that's the only language they seem to understand.
All right, before we examine the language, perhaps, some would say, if you said that the government is not a listening one, some would say you're not fair to the government, considering the fact that there are some adjustments that have been made. Let me take, for instance, the issue of hunger. At some point, the government was talking about, 42,000 metric tons, of grains across the states. And then just recently, it's talking about 250,000 metric tons of rice, another 250 metric tons, 1,000 metric tons of wheat to augment, the situation. And then also removing tariff on rice importation and other grains, essentially to flood the market so that the prices will crash. Isn't that a response?
Good. So you are a journalist. Tell Nigerians the story of that 42,000 metric tons that the president and commander-in-chief on February the 8th gave a directive that should be released from federal government silos to vulnerable Nigerians. Tell me about it. And I want any Nigerian to tell me if you got any part of that 42,000 metric tons.
Are you trying to reinforce what the former Senate President said, that the silos are empty?
They have been empty. Everybody knows that. It's just deception. And I wrote it as part of my article, Deception, Destitution, and Hopelessness. It's deception. They knew all the federal government silos were empty. So all of that 42,000 metric tons are just a number in the air. And they know that. So a government who is not honest, who cannot tell you the truth, how can you believe them? They're going to give you another 200 and whatever. It's not believable. And there's loss of faith. People have lost faith in the government that continues to tell them one thing today, and there will be another thing during Maghrib. There will be another thing during... If citizens lose faith in government because they are not telling them the truth, that government is in serious trouble. Because we have seen it. We'll give you 42 metric tons of, there's no this time. Oh, we are going to import, we've taken the taxes, we are going to import grains. Everybody's just watching. Importation of grains will take two things. You have a foreign exchange. Do you have that foreign exchange? Number one, it's going to take a while. Even the processes, it's going to take months. So they're just telling Nigerians, oh, if Nigerians
but there's a timeline. They're talking about 150 days.
That's what they are saying. Well, if Nigerians agitate, watch this government. The moment they see Nigerians agitate, they throw another policy, thinking they will calm people down. But you cannot lie with hunger. You cannot lie with insecurity. It is real. It is real. People are seeing it.
That's one aspect, to show also that the government is a listening one. For instance, we've seen what is happening in Kenya, for instance, where the president had to withdraw the tax, earlier initiated that triggered the wide protests across the country. Here in Nigeria, even before protests, when Nigerians raised concerns over this cybersecurity levy, the government had to withdraw it. Shouldn't that be taken as something that, a government that listens?
This government was just caught with its pants down, period. They knew, what is this cybersecurity? What has it got to do? And I wrote about it. What has it got to do with the daily realities of our people? They just want to sneak it in, and then I said it. Economic team is just looking like tax collectors, taxing. Taxes, I said, and it's known, do not grow economies. Only production does. You cannot continue to overtax people just like you did in Lagos. What worked in Lagos will never work on the big stage. So tax. It's not worked and will not work. So about the listening.
There was also a review in that direction. The government has to come up with some exemptions. Some key sectors of the economy were exempted in paying some of these taxes and so on.
So Shafi'u,
businesses, small businesses.
Shafi'u, if this government had the right people to advise it, and if this president had the right people to advise him before removing this subsidy, you would have thought further. There's going to be this, there's going to be this, there's going to be this. We need to do this. Now they are rushing, they're just reactive, not strategic. You think you just remove fuel subsidy when you are inaugurated and think all will be well, and come in and telling people, I feel your pain, please be patient. No, you don't feel our pain, Mr. President, because you are not in pain. Our people are in pain. Our people are hungry, thanks to your economic policies that you do not have answers to mitigate all the consequences. Inflation is run away. I do not see any of these policies that's going to bring inflation down. I really don't.
But there was a consensus that, it is something that has to be done, for this country to move forward. Virtually all the previous administrations, including those who have been aspiring to become presidents, have agreed that the subsidy has to go. So what is wrong if this government took the decisive step, and the bold step to say, okay, let it go. We know that there will be suffering, but let's bear it so that things will get better, in the long run.
Right. So this government, this president just shoots and then asks questions later. That's not how to govern. It's not what you do, but how you do it. You have to govern with the milk of human kindness. I don't see that here. If you want to put everybody in a straitjacket, do that. Let everybody here do that too. When you're buying 2 new aircrafts, you're buying SUVs, you're giving your senators, and you expect citizens to look at you and believe whatever you say? No. Government has never been strategic in the way it is going to manage this fuel subsidy. Everybody knew that fuel subsidy, the way it was operated, was not sustainable. But Nigerians know that now fuel subsidy is back in full. The president is paying, the government is paying for fuel subsidy.
So where are we then? Where is the result of that?
I asked on this same chair, why doesn't the price of oil go back where it was? Where is the money going? All these trillions they say they got. Where is it?
But if it is true, actually, because the government has consistently denied that it is not back. If it is actually back, why do you think the presidency failed to come out and tell Nigerians?
Why don't you call the GMD NNPC here? He will be the right person, or the Honorable Minister of State, Petroleum, to answer such questions. This is why they are there, to speak to Nigerians. But the truth, and they know it, the truth is they are paying for fuel subsidy. Everybody know that. Everybody know that. So why isn't everything back to where it was, how we found it? And where is the money you've said you've been saving? Trillions. At least during Abacha, we know that money he made, he created PTF. And he did something that people could see. But where is the money here? So it's...
Well, okay, let's look at, because we're looking at the imperatives or otherwise of this. Some would say it is better to jojo than to war. For instance, there is need to be on the table and discuss some of these issues rather than just go into nationwide demonstrations that nobody knows where they will end, for instance. Going by experience, from the Arab Spring, just recently we've seen what happened in Kenya, for instance. A number of people were killed, and then yet, except for the reversal of the policy, halfway, so to speak, there wasn't any much impact. Why should Nigerians begin to think of, going to the streets to demand for action when it can be done through negotiations, discussions?
Right. If it could be done, why haven't they done it? If it could be done, why haven't they done it? This is a government that is not listening. Clerics in the mosque, in the churches, those that preach all of this to the government, they've not been listening. right? You have been writing, all newspapers have been writing, people are suffering. We have been writing and talking all over the place. People are, the members of the National Assembly, our representatives, we sent to come and represent us and voice our concerns. They are not doing it. So what do you want?
Some of them recently talking about drawing the government attention to it.
It's more
that something needs to be done. There is hunger, and youths are angry. They
are now welcome late converts and all for self-preservation. They are seeing the danger that the executive is not seeing.
Even though some of them are withdrawing the statement. I have had former Senate president, withdrawing the statement he was said to have made. That the government need to proactively address the problems so that they don't see something bad on the street.
Withdrawing it?
I think I read somewhere he's withdrawing.
Right, real men don't withdraw what they say. I mean, it's
he denied it rather, that it was a fiction.
Anyway, it's true. We saw that on the clip, and it's true. He doesn't need to say it. We've been saying it. And this youth will tell them if they're not listening. People are fed up.
We also seen a former, the majority leader, Ndume, also talking about alleging that the president has been caged. We've seen the reaction of the party and reaction from the presidency that, that's not true. Is the listening president has been meeting with people.
Shafi'u, you didn't call me to discuss this presidency.
But these are part of the conversation.
Presidency. If they are caged, go get the key to the cage and enter. For goodness sake, they're all part of this failing government that have not been able to protect our people, and that have in a year put this country in hunger, in a situation where we see in the Sudan or Yemen. In 1 year, in the spate of 1 year, this is where we are. What is the price of a bag of rice today? Over 90,000? Over 60,000? What was it when they came? What is the cost of price? What is the cost of beans? What's the cost of... This is the reality of our people. We are not talking foreign exchange that mean little to our people. They cannot go to the market and buy food and feed their families. And you're here talking, it's cages, whatever, it's part of your government. Go and unlock,
but you also talked about
that
you also allege that he is not a listening president. If actually he is not aware, and then people want to go there and say, Mr. President, please, let's take a look at the situation.
Look, he's not a listening president. That is his problem. He said, Emilio Khan. Those that voted for him, you said, it's your turn. You're not the listening president. You cannot run this government. Please make way for those that can. We have no excuse. And I've said it. I mean, leaders have forfeited the right. Look, leaders have forfeited the right to make any excuses. You are the one more than any president that came that said, it is now my turn. You vote for me. He did whatever he did. And he got elected, and he's not telling, he's caged, it's the inflation, it's COVID, it's God, Jesus Christ, or Moses. Please, we are not in that mood. We really are not in that mood. People are suffering. We're not.
Well, but it's not a one-man show. We're in a federation. We have, layers of leadership across states, layers of, leadership across other sectors, other arms of government. We're talking about the executive, the legislature, the judiciary. We also have the opposition figures. Ordinarily in developed democracies, you find the opposition also making meaningful contribution for, development of a nation or getting out of a situation. But in Nigeria, it's just about lamentation. Why are we not seeing perhaps, a national consensus? People coming together to say, okay, there's need for us to face this direction.
Yeah, it's because of that failure. It has created this vacuum, and these kids will fail. That is what we've been trying to avoid all this time. Where are the grown men? Where are the adults? Where is the government? It's the absence of government that these kids are trying to fill on the streets. Any responsible government will try to prevent things like that. But we are here, the president is doing God knows where, the National Assembly are there admiring their SUVs, and the clerics are telling the kids not to go and protest. We are not careful. These kids will fail what we are because of the vacuum of governance all across, from the states to the federal government. What is a government for? A government is meant to protect its people and its welfare. Well, people are hungry. Well, people are insecure. Then why are you in government houses, or why are you in the villa? You have no reason to be there.
If I understand, you're trying to say perhaps they lose their legitimacy or what? Okay.
That is what gives, constitutionally, that's what gives any government legitimacy. Look at the Constitution. The purpose of government is to protect its people
Security
and its welfare. You don't do that, then you have no reason to call yourself a government.
Well, we'll take a break. When we return, we'll be looking at how to abate this, even though I don't want to believe that you zero your mind that it's not something that can be prevented. Anyway, when we return, we'll look at that. In case you're just joining us, the program is Daily Politics, and we're looking at economic hardship and the imperatives or otherwise of a planned nationwide protest. And I've been interfacing with Professor Usman Yusuf, a former national Executive Secretary of the National Insurance Scheme, and of course a Professor of Hematology and Oncology and Bone Marrow Transplantation, and an elder, member of the Northern Elders Forum. We'll take a break. When we return, our conversation continues. Stay with us. Thank you very much for staying with us on Daily Politics. And today our talking point, of course, we're looking at the economic hardship and the planned protest nationwide. And there was, in case you're just joining us, you can also follow us across our social media platforms and watch us live on YouTube. And I still have in the studio Professor Usman Yusuf. Before the break, we were talking about, what needs to be done to to proactively avert this planned protest. We're talking about some of the responses of the government. Not long ago, the president also created a ministry, because we dwelt so much on insecurity. He created a Ministry of Livestock Development, and he said, comprehensively saddled that ministry with the responsibility of addressing this conflict. To a large extent, this conflict between farmers and herders has a direct linkage, to some of these problems we are talking about. Do you see that as a magic wand, for instance?
So this is part of the gimmick of this government. If anything happens, the next day they will throw an initiative. And they will quieten down. Nothing will happen after that. So I saw that. Is it livestock? Is it ministry? Is it a committee? Is it, God knows. And what are they going to do? Nobody knows. Well, two observations. Number one, Gandhi said, whatever you do for me, without me, it's against me. So whoever sat down here in
How
Abuja,
do you mean?
I will tell you, whoever sat down here in Abuja and created whatever they created, who has he consulted among stakeholders?
But it was a fallout of the recommendations of the committee set up to look at, the conflict.
Which committee?
Yeah, the Ganduje-led committee.
Unbelievable. So where did Ganduje and his crew go? They just sat down in their office and brought stuff. They did not go around and reach out to anybody. So this is the Abuja talking point, right? Number one. So they have not consulted widely people, especially stakeholders.
But there are uploads from the Meti Allah and the rest of them, saying that it is a
right. I'm telling you,
step in the right direction.
Yeah, they're saying it. Number two, I'll tell you this. The most important thing to do now, for security, is reconciliation between communities. Aggressive reconciliation. There's no way you can build anything when there is still enmity and fighting between communities. None. And I've told them this. You remember they gave, 50 billion for Polaco initiative. We are going to build clinics, and I just shake my head and say, these guys don't even know what they're talking about. Because if you know what you're talking about, you need to make sure you reconcile communities. Why are people fighting?
But isn't it part of the mandate of the ministry, for instance?
It cannot do that. No, you cannot do that. And anyway, so it's part of just throwing things and thinking it will work or divert people. people's attention from one objection of the people to the other. We're still waiting for them to respond. I have not had any official response from the presidency about this upcoming protest.
Perhaps they do not
Are they in denial, or do they
do not believe it is even cooking in the first place?
Right.
Even though it's been all over the social media, creating a lot of...
They know more than you and I, and it's time the president himself come out and address Nigerian youth.
Okay.
Just like they forced President Muhammadu Buhari to address the nation during NSAS. Okay. You remember? You remember?
Yeah. Even though the damage has been done at some point.
So here, nobody from the federal government is talking to this youth. And they expect when it happens, they'll come out and talk to the youth. They have lost control of the youth. And this is part of the problem of all insecurities. We have insecurity issues in this country. Elders have lost control of their youth. We Fulani elders have lost control of our youth. That is why Fulani youth today are bandits. When we went into the forest with Sheikh Gumi, all the Ardos will tell us that they've lost control.
There hasn't been leadership from the grassroots.
The same thing. It's the same thing, Boko Haram.
Yeah, but we're beginning to see...
No, let me finish. The same thing, Boko Haram. I mean, Kanuri youth are doing what they're doing. The same thing in the south is. Kids that did not see the civil war are agitating to break this country up. So there is all elders all across this country who've lost control of our youth. And now, instead of the leadership coming to find out how to listen to this youth, they are letting them until they go out on the street.
Okay, because if you say, we're beginning to see religious leaders intervening, even though there is a divided opinion, sort of, even among the religious leaders. Some felt, it is not out of place, to draw government attention to issues like this. But a number of them are also concerned about the fallout, the impact it will make. They're also drawing from experiences, from other climes and even within Africa. Did you think it is the right thing to do now to calm down, to calm the nerves of the youth, to let them know that not until they go to the streets, things can be addressed? Even though some also are worried that why the religious leaders are also not talking to the leadership.
Right. And so this is the thing. In the north, all these years, our youth have been going through difficulties of insecurities, difficulty of lack of education, no employment and poverty. They have been held down by preachers from the mosque, mostly, that things will get better. Keep praying, right? So a time has come now when everybody, not only the youth, are saying, how long more can we continue to pray? We are hungry. We are hungry. A dead man cannot pray. The purpose of your being around is to live. You can't live because you're hungry. And they are seeing religious leaders being called and quoted by the government. Or some
allegedly, because there hasn't been any basis to confirm that.
There is no allegation. We know the Muslim ticket was a government-funded thing. And they campaigned for this Muslim. Let's not kid ourselves. The Muslim clerics in the north are pivotal in bringing President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to power with his Muslim ticket. And people expected. They advocate for people when the people are suffering. Are they doing that? No. So they are now contracted and asked to go back home to the same people.
Because we cannot establish that.
They are now contracted to go back to the people and tell them, to calm down. Calm down for what and why? The clerics of our time. The clerics of our time never used to go to governors or presidents' houses. No. President come to them. And they preach. And they listen.
Are you also saying they are losing their influence?
No, they have. No, they have lost. They have lost. The reason is that because they are in cahoots with politicians. that people see are the oppressors. You go to a politician, you come to the mosque and campaign for this, or you go to the church and campaign, and campaign for this man, and tell your flock that you can swear he is the best candidate there is. People went and voted for this person based on your recommendation. And now people are suffering, they're not hearing you. Come back to the same place and speak to those leaders. No, they're not.
But because some, to a large extent, we've seen some religious leaders actually coming out, including religious groups, coming out to tell the president that something is wrong, there is need to do X, Y, Z, and all of that.
And it's not all religious leaders, at least I know here in the north. It's not all religious leaders that are saying, no, protest against Islam, don't go and protest, be patient, keep praying. No, I'll give you an example. I was at the mosque the other day, Friday mosque, and the imam was preaching about, the increased cost of living. He was going round and round and round. He's saying, even during the Prophet Muhammad, this and... I was sitting around people, around kids, kekena pep or nail cutters or selling kola nuts.
The ordinary Nigerians, the day-to-day Nigerians.
Yeah, many of them were hissing. Say, what is he talking about? What is he talking about? I'm here hungry. They're saying they are here hungry, and you're blaming the poor.
I said the religious leaders are insulated. Are they also not?
No, they're not only they're insulated. They are not honest with the truth. I mean, if you're honest with the truth, you know it is not the poor man that removed fuel subsidy. It is not the poor man that made the dollar the way it is. It is not the poor man that is responsible for the cost of the petroleum the way it is today. It is the leadership. The leadership have a responsibility, but you know why that Imam didn't know? Inside the mosque there are senators and governors. Leaders, clerics of our time, this is the kind of crowd they will preach to. But here now we have our clerics and pastors going to governors and presidents. Clerics of our time, they don't go to, they come to them and they preach to them. But here you hear a cleric going to governor, and it is a governor that's preaching to them what to tell the people. So they have lost, and kids. And the moment any cleric of any religion, the two major religions, the moment they start losing their youth, they're in trouble. They're in trouble.
So what would you be telling the youths? Because just like I said earlier, looking at what is happening elsewhere, looking at, some believe that, any attempt to go on the streets could exacerbate, could compound the situation. Because right now, we've seen what is happening elsewhere. In Kenya, for instance, legitimate protests, peaceful protests, turn violent, looting set in, and then, and this looting affects the ordinary people.
Yeah, so, and why have we been talking all of this time? Why have we been raising our voices for government to listen? There's trouble back home, those places you don't go to. And now it is at the 11th hour that you're panicking what to do. Protest in a democracy is the legitimate right of a citizen, especially a government that doesn't listen. And if I'm in government, I will tell Mr. President, if you don't allow these kids to go and protest and vent their spleen, you are only postponing the inevitable. It's going to come.
What if he took the right decisions?
What decision can he take from now till whatever day they give that he hasn't taken? Something concrete that they will see the crash of food price. They will see food in the market. They will see their parents fed, their brothers, their sisters. What?
For instance, part of the demand is that you should return the subsidy or whatever. I think it's part of it. Do you see the president contemplating doing that?
Well, the president will have no choice if the citizens make him do that. Look at what happened in Kenya. President Muhammadu Buhari, after NSAS, did he not accept all the 5 recommendations of
dismantle the NSAS
everything, without consulting anybody? If it is a listening government, you should not even allow that to get to their place. This is where we are. Nothing has changed. And many of these NSAS instigators are in this government. They haven't learned a lesson.
Well, allegedly, because you cannot pinpoint anyone and say it's part of the
NSAS mostly started in Lagos. This is nationwide.
The Lekki.
From Abia to Zamfara, youths are angry. The youths are angry. And I cannot see what will stop them from coming out. All we are telling the youth, and it is very, very important the youth hear the voices of those that are not condemning them. So that they are the only ones that they can listen to. The reason I'm telling you this is this. Even at home, if your child is angry with you, he wants to do this, sometimes it's good to let him. Let him vent his spleen, and then you talk later.
But how would that be allowed? Because looking at what protests used to be, how they used to turn out to be, even the NSAS you're talking about, at some point it became violent.
Correct. So this is the consequence, and we see protests all over democracies. In France, it just finished. In India, it just finished. My advice to youth, all of these kids, they are our children. My advice to them is that it is your legitimate right to protest. All we are asking and pleading with you, peaceful. All we are asking and pleading with you, let it be peaceful. Let the government hear you loud and clearly. There shouldn't be any looting. There shouldn't be any religious, ethnic, or any animosities. We are all in this boat together. And nations have been built over generation by the youth, not children. So them destroying this country, they are destroying their future. They should come up peacefully and do this thing and let government listen.
What would you be telling the security agencies?
The security
because we've seen what happened in Kenya, for instance.
Good.
Overzealous, security agencies.
Good. Security agencies, I'm telling you, if these kids come out to protest, they are fighting for you and your families. You go to the same market. Don't shoot anybody. And the kids will be peaceful and things will go quietly. And for the clerics, come out and pray for these kids and guide them. Let them do what is their constitutional right to do. And it's for the government to listen. We are all saying this because they say a stitch in time saves nine. Before we get into more trouble than we're in.
Okay, a stitch in time saves nine. Usman. Thank you very much, Professor Usman Yusuf, for talking to us on Daily Politics. We appreciate your perspectives.
Thank you for having me.
And viewers, that's a wrap on today's package. We sincerely hope you found the conversation engaging and informative. And be sure to join Daily Politics Live, airing every weekday, and also our special package on Friday, during which we open our telephone line for you to comment on national issues. Once again, I'm Shafi'u Suleiman. Many thanks for being there.